Well, if you made it here through the last video, you might be feeling a little triggered. And if so, that's perfectly okay. If you haven't seen that one, maybe you should go get triggered and come back and hear what we have to say in this one. I want to reiterate, this is not toxic positivity. This is not being insensitive. Life is very challenging. There are very hard circumstances that arise. And when we dismiss them, when we don't allow ourselves to feel the pain, when we shove it down as we tend to do, well, this ultimately leads to more pain and more time to recover from whatever that initial challenging, even catastrophic event was. We have to feel the pain. We have to feel and go through the experience. This is why people come to the mushroom, and they don't even know this very often. There's tons of information and media out there that tells you you're going to have this beautiful, empowering experience, meet God, all of that. And more often than not, the case is you're going to have to get through the difficult emotions that you didn't process beforehand. It's extremely important. So, while we are not talking about spiritual bypassing, we are definitely talking about embracing what is. Not easy to do. Often, the last thing anybody wants to hear, and the last thing anybody should hear when they're going through a challenging experience is, "This is happening for you." Don't say that to someone who has lost a loved one, who is experiencing some diagnosis, whatever the case might be. Hold that space for them. Know that for them. As a space holder, this has been the most important quality that I have had to cultivate. Observing individuals as they go through very challenging experiences and resisting my desire to help, my desire to interfere with their process. What folks need in that space, and more often throughout our lives, what we need when we're going through a challenging experience is just to be supported, to know that someone is there. This is why community is crucial to eventually coming to the perspective that life is happening for us. How could this be? What does community have to do in helping us realize that life is happening for us? Well, for one, we can see through the example and the experience of others who have gone through difficult moments that it doesn't last forever. It doesn't mean they can change it for you, but they can be there with you. This is one of the reasons why it is so important, if you're doing any kind of work with psychedelics, that the person supporting you has been through an ample amount of their own personal experiences. When someone tries to reassure you and you know that they have not had a similar experience, it's very difficult to take that reassurance to heart. Sure, it feels nice, we can appreciate it, but if we know that they don't have a touch point, then we still either feel at best on our own or completely patronized. Nobody wants that. Nobody needs that. Community is essential to our growth in every aspect. We are tribal creatures, and yet we've been taught that individualism is where we shine, that we find our power in our independence. But I'm going to suggest to you, my friends, that we ultimately find our power in our interdependence. And this is one of the ways we can apply this perspective of life is happening to us on a large scale. For many years, we've been told American individualism, be your own person. And of course, be yourself, be authentic, embrace and love who you are. But we can't neglect the interconnectedness of all life, not just here in our society, all around this big, beautiful world. Everything is connected. And I suspect that the mental health issues that we've seen through the loss of community, that the personal suffering that so many have endured through isolation, is going to teach us how essential community is. Remember COVID? Remember how we learned that it was actually more detrimental to someone's health, physical and mental health, to be in isolation than to be in community? We can actually look back at that experience and see that it happened for us. It happened to teach us the importance of being connected to each other. It also helped us to see how wonderful things like Zoom can be. Now, I know some people still bemoan Zoom, but I've found it to be an amazing way to connect with people from around the world. It's all about my perspective. I could absolutely get annoyed and frustrated with the amount of time that I spend on Zoom. I could think to myself, oh, why does this happen to me that I have to be working so much through a virtual platform? Or I can be excited about the possibility of meeting new people from around the world that I eventually possibly meet in person. It's happened to me. So when we're facing real difficulty in life, when we really can't see that life is happening for us rather than to us, we don't have to try to convince ourselves or gaslight ourselves into any belief. Just go and be in community, even if it's just one or two people. I know, especially those who are grieving the loss of a loved one, a spouse, a parent, a child, it can be the most difficult thing to do, to be in community. No one can understand. No one can feel your pain. No one can really sympathize. And that may be true, but they can be there for you. They can be another human caring presence to let you know that you're not alone until the time comes. And if you remain open, it will, where you know whatever it happened for you. And another valuable way to shift this perspective is to move our bodies. Dancing, exercising, just taking a walk. And yes, in these moments of pain, when we feel like the world is coming in at us, when everything is happening to us, it can be really difficult to motivate ourselves to get up and move. And yet, just something as simple as taking a walk can shift your perspective and help move that energy through your body. Now, for some people, that may sound like a very woo-woo statement, moving energy through our bodies, somehow connected to our thoughts and emotions. Well, they are, plain and simple. There's plenty of science around emotional metabolism. We see this in the psychedelic work over and over and over. And myself, I have found, as many do, that when I am consistently exercising, my emotional state, no matter what's coming at me in life, is so much more resilient. Lots of things come at me. Life is difficult. Lots of things come at you. It's okay. You don't have to run from them. You don't have to fear them. You can know that it's happening for you. One of the most powerful ways that I found to internalize this understanding is through observing nature. So even when I was a young Catholic boy, nature was actually my church. The mushroom is absolutely what I consider a sacrament, and the temple, well, is my body and this amazing natural world. And moving into nature, being immersed in nature, is a powerful way to shift our emotions as well. But what the observation that I began to see that helped me understand more clearly that life is happening for me, not to me, was when as I studied and observed evolution. There is nowhere fossil record in the evolutionary timeline that we can see that things were not happening for life. Every mutation, every shift, every massive upheaval, even the loss of different species, if we look at where we are, where nature is right now, you can see a positive outcome. Now, I know there's going to be people that say, well, deforestation, invasive species, and all that's true. All those things happen, and similar to negative, challenging life circumstances, they don't feel right at the time. And yet, we can look back and see that throughout history, evolution, the mechanism of evolution working through humans, animals, plant life, everything that we experience in the natural world is moving towards greater connectivity, greater efficiency. I'm going to invite you to accept the challenge of embracing curiosity in this, because it's very easy to dismiss what I'm saying. It's very easy to call it Pollyanna, to say it's spiritual bypassing, to say that no, things are really bad. But what if we embrace curiosity? What if we just take a moment and look at things with a mind that says, what if? What if what I think is not the absolute truth? What if what is happening is for the better? I remember working with an individual for a period of time who insisted on maintaining an exceedingly negative perspective, whether it was the political environment, whether it was the state of the environment itself, whether it was her family, whether it was her work. Every single thing was happening to her. And I bet you know some people like this. Hopefully you're not one of them, but if you are, it's okay. You can shift. Now, this individual chose not to. She put herself in community and couldn't take the positivity. She called it spiritual bypassing. She called it avoiding shadow work. That is not what we're talking about here. In fact, spiritual bypassing can be refusing to avoid seeing things in a positive light. Spiritual bypassing can be continuing to dig our heels in the ground and maintain our perspective of negativity, darkness, sadness, loneliness. The world is happening to me. Woe is me. I am a victim. That can be spiritual bypassing as well, because you're avoiding the difficult work of changing your perspective. And that is what spiritual work is. Spiritual work is not communicating with angels and reading your Bible every day or your Quran or whatever the case may be. Spiritual work is changing who you are. It's becoming more in alignment with the highest expression of your purest self. And every one of us knows what that is ultimately, or at least has a line on the direction. You may not be able to see what you are in your most empowered self, but if you begin to see the world as happening for you rather than to you, you'll be on the fast track to getting there. You'll see things change around you. All of our talk about manifestation, it becomes a reality when we realize life is happening for us. Now, from a scientific perspective, this is something that we can actually hardwire into our brains, into our ways of thinking. This is why psychedelics can be so valuable. We can go into these experiences with the perspective of, I'm going to start seeing how the world is happening for me. And in those weeks after an experience, when we have increased neuroplasticity, we can continue to come back to that focus, especially with curiosity and wonderment. How is this happening for me? We find what we're looking for. And if you start to look for how life is happening for you, well, I bet you'll start to find it a lot easier as well. I've seen this in my own work, and research shows it as well. Did you know that up to 70% of people who have gone through some traumatic incident, who have PTSD, diagnosable, clinically diagnosed PTSD, report that after years, they realize that this was for them, that it was a benefit to their lives. And if we would take that perspective more readily, then we would realize that more quickly. I do want to look at this from a spiritual perspective as well. We've talked about it a little bit, but there are teachings throughout various traditions that help us understand the power of our perspective. Many of you may have come out of a traumatic religious history like myself, where when life dealt you lemons, rather than being told to turn it into lemonade, you were told you were being punished. There's something that you did that led to this. Now, there's a reality to consider here. Our actions do have consequences, and sometimes we are the impetus of our own difficulties. However, if we can look at this not as punishment from on high, but being shaped by being refined, by being forged like steel, then that spiritual growth we talked about, that becoming the new, higher manifestation of our truest self, becomes more realized. Our imagination is our connection to the spiritual world. For some, this can be a very difficult concept to sit with. We've been taught that imagination is somehow false, that when we use the powers of visualization and imagination, that we're living in a world of fancy or daydreaming even. And yet, we know that everything around us came from imagination. The visible world comes from the invisible world solely through imagination. I imagined this podcast, and it has evolved. Someone imagined the camera that I'm looking into. Someone imagined YouTube that you're watching. Someone even imagined giving birth to you as a child. So, how does this relate to our shift in perspective? It goes back to the curiosity. If we can maybe imagine how life is happening for us, we find ourselves bringing that into being. You are so much more powerful than you realize. Your perspective, your attention, and intention are what your world are made of. And you can use that intention and attention to direct your imagination, to become more curious, to consider possibilities without getting too deep into the quantum sciences. Basically, we are understanding that experience, that existence itself, is the possibility of possibilities. I hope that you find a way to consider, question how life is happening for you. Perhaps this video has come to you at the right time. You're considering how you're going to navigate some difficult circumstances in life. I want to invite you to consider community. If you are a practitioner with sacred mushrooms or psilocybin mushrooms, I would encourage you to check out Sanctuary, sanctuary.org. That is a sacred mushroom community founded by my wife and I in 2021. It's a growing network of individuals who are seeking to see the world differently, to understand more directly, experience more profoundly how life is happening for them. And the mushroom is a very powerful tool in assisting with that. If you are looking for private work and you would like to work with me one-on-one, then you can check out my website linked below. I do work with private individuals to help them navigate such questions and explore life in this way. It's powerful work. I am so grateful to be a part of it with you. I'm going to choose to believe, know that this video, even though it's far from perfect, is just exactly what you were meant to find today, and that you are exactly who I am meant to be here with. Thank you so much. I look forward to our next discussion. I'll see you around.